All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are talking about something huge happening in Africa's largest economy. Nigeria is in the middle of a massive tax reset. I mean, they're tearing down their old, complicated tax laws and building something entirely new. So you have to ask, why go through all that trouble? What exactly was so broken that it needed this kind of radical fix? And this quote from Deloitte, wow, it just nails it. A patchwork, complex, inequitable, and burdensome. You can almost feel the frustration in those words, right? That wasn't just a system with a few problems. It was a system that was actively hurting the country. So let's really dig into what that patchwork looked like. Yeah. For years, people called Nigeria's tax system a form of self-inflicted pain. And that's a pretty harsh way to describe it, but it was true. Just try to put yourself in the shoes of a business owner. You're not dealing with one tax office, you're dealing with tons of different government agencies. They're all coming at you for different taxes, the rules are a total mess, and they can change depending on where you are. It was just this constant, expensive headache. And when you break it down, the pain points were just brutal. You had all these overlapping taxes and fees, dozens of different agencies all wanting a piece of the pie. And trying to get a tax refund? Good luck. But here's the real kicker. You had to pay something called a minimum tax, even if your business didn't make a single naira of profit. I mean, think about that. It created this crazy situation where, as one of the architects of this reform said, it was super expensive to run a business in Nigeria, but really, really easy to just give up and leave. Okay, so how on earth do you fix a system that broken? Well, you don't just put a Band-Aid on it. You have to start over. You forge a completely new blueprint. And that's what Nigeria is doing, building this new system on 3 brand new pillars. So here's the new institutional framework, and it's built on 3 really clear steps. First, you get the Nigeria Revenue Service, the NRS. This is the new single unified agency for collecting all federal taxes. No more running around. Second, a joint revenue board. Its job is to make sure taxes are harmonized, that they make sense across federal, state, and local governments. And third, and this is a real game changer, you get an independent tax ombud. Think of it as a referee, an impartial watchdog to make sure disputes between taxpayers and the government are handled fairly. So, with that new foundation in place, let's talk about what this actually means for businesses on the ground. These next changes are all about simplifying things, cutting through that infamous red tape, and really trying to fuel some growth. This right here might be one of the biggest wins for businesses, the end of multiple levies. Before, it was this confusing mess of separate taxes. You had the tertiary education tax, an IT levy, a police trust fund levy, the list goes on. Now, all of that gets swept away and replaced with a single, consolidated 4% development levy on a company's profits. It's simple, it's predictable, and it ties what you owe directly to how well you're actually doing. The next big shift comes down to this one number, 15%. This is the new minimum effective tax rate for the really big players. We're talking large companies with over 20 billion naira in revenue and multinational enterprises. The key here isn't just about making sure the biggest companies pay their fair share. It's also about aligning Nigeria with global standards, which is a huge step for the country on the international stage. And the good news for businesses just keeps coming. Remember that painful minimum tax on capital for companies that were struggling? Gone. Now, businesses can actually recover the VAT they pay on services and big purchases, which is a massive help for cash flow. The rules are clearer, giving tax officials less random power. And maybe one of the biggest fixes? If you have unused capital allowances or losses, you can now transfer them during a group restructuring. That solves a major headache for a lot of companies. Okay, so we've covered the business side of things, which is huge. But what does this mean for you, for the average person, the individual taxpayer, the investor? Well, the reforms are bringing some pretty significant changes to your personal finances, too. So let's look at the new personal income tax brackets. The first thing that probably jumps out at you is that big fat 0%. The first 800,000 naira of your taxable income is now tax-free. That legally takes millions of low-income earners completely off the tax roll. And then as you go up the ladder, you see the rates increase. For the highest earners, those making over 50 million naira, the top rate goes up to 25%. It's a much more progressive system where those who can afford to contribute more do. And on top of that, the reforms bring in a bunch of new tax breaks for individuals. For example, if you sell your main home, no more capital gains tax on that. Selling a personal car, you can sell up to 2 a year without paying tax on it. If you get a payout for loss of office, anything up to 50 million naira is now tax-free. And this is a really interesting one, a new rent relief. You can actually claim 20% of your annual rent, up to 500,000 naira, as a deduction. These are all real, tangible benefits that people will feel in their pockets. So when you pull all of this together, what does Nigeria's new fiscal future actually look like? The road ahead isn't just about new tax rates and rules. It's really about changing the fundamental relationship between the government, its businesses, and its citizens. And I think this quote from Taiwo Oyedele, the chairman of the Reform Committee, just says it all. The reforms are people-centric, growth-focused, and efficiency-driven. You see, the point isn't just to grab more tax money for the government. The real goal is to get the economy moving by empowering people, tearing down the barriers to growth, and just making the whole system work better for everyone. Ultimately, it all boils down to this one very simple principle. The new system is designed to be cheaper to comply with, but much, much more expensive to evade. By making the rules simple and closing the loopholes, the idea is to create a level playing field where doing the right thing is just the easiest and smartest option. And that really brings us to the big final question. There's no doubt this is one of the boldest, most ambitious tax reforms we've seen in Africa. The plan is there. The ambition is undeniable. But will it be the key that finally unlocks Nigeria's incredible economic potential? Well, only time is going to tell. But the stage is definitely set for a massive transformation.